Good day, mom. Let me demonstrate the projections of the skull with the patient lateral. The patient is seated upright, which is dapat yung cassette natin is naka-parallel sa head ng patient. So, ang kanyang EAM is measured siya ng 2 inches above to the tabletop. The central ray must be perpendicularly directed 2 inches above the EAM. So, dito papasok ang ating central ray. Then, structure shown nito is this lateral image superimposed halves of the cranium, show detail to the side adjacent to the IR, the sella turcica, the anterior clinoid process, dorsum sulate, and posterior clinoid process are well shown in the lateral projection. Projection, place the patient in supine position. Ensure that the mid-sagittal plane is perpendicularly directed to the IR. Is directed or perpendicularly to the nation entering 15 degrees cephalad. It demonstrates the orbits are considerably magnified because of the increased OID. Next projection, we have the apiaxial tone method. Place the patient in supine position. Flex the patient head enough to place the MSP and the OM perpendicular to the midline of the IR. So, re-enters approximately 2.5 inches above to the glabella, through the level of the EAM. So, the structure shows symmetric image of the petrous pyramids, the posterior portions of the foramen magnum, the dorsum sulate and posterior clinoid process projected with the foramen magnum, the occipital bone and the posterior portions of the parietal bone. And the PE-axial Caldwell method. Place the patient in prone position and then place the patient forehead and the nose to the cassette. Ayan. Direct the central ray to exit the nation in 15 degrees caudad. Shows is the petrous ridges and are projected into the lower third of the orbits and also shows the anterior ethmoidal ear cells. Segmento vertical projections. Place the patient in seated upright position and then ask the patient to move the body away from the cassette. Hyperextend the neck. Ma'am, pa-extend naman ako ng neck. Okay. Re-enters the mid-sagittal plane to the throat between the angles of the mandible. Demonstrate the symmetric images of the petrosal and mastoid process, foramina ovale, and the spinosum. Next, we have the mandible, which is we have the axial-lateral projection or axial-lateral oblique projection. For the body, place the patient head in through lateral from towards the IR 30 degrees, and for the symphysis, place the patient head in 45 degrees towards the IR. So from the central ray must be directed 25 degrees directly through the mandibular ramus or through the mandibular region of interest. It shows the region of the mandible that was parallel with the IR. We have the zygomatic arc. We have tangential projection. In this projection, the patient is seated upright, and then ask the patient to flex the neck to the IR. And then the central ray must be perpendicularly to the IOML and centered to the zygomatic arc at approximately 1 inch superior to the outer canthus. The structure shown shows a tangential image of the zygomatic arc. It seems free of superimpositions, also useful in patients with the depressed fractures or flat cheekbones. We have the PE-axial projection Caldwell method. Place the patient in seated upright position and rest the patient forehead and the nose to the table. Direct the central ray to the nation at the angle of 15 degrees caudad. It shows the orbital rims, the maxillae, the nasal septum, the zygomatic bones, anterior nasal spine. To a Kenschel Waters method, the patient is in seated upright position. Hyperextend the neck to form OML at the angle of 37 degree to the plane of the IR. So the central ray is exiting the acanthion. In this projection, it shows the orbits, the maxillae, and the zygomatic arches. Modified Swatter method. So in this case, the patient must be in the prone position. The chin of the patient is contact in the IR. So nakakontak dapat ang chin ng patient sa IR. And the central ray must be exiting at the nasyon and entering at the level of the acanthion. This projection shows the facial bones, the petrous ridges are projected below, and the inferior orbit level midway through the maxillary sinuses. We have the acanthoparietal projections reverse method. The patient must be in supine position and the chin must be extended or flexed. The patient neck must be extended so that the IOML about 37 degrees enter the acanthion, and it shows the superior facial bones, the distance between the lateral border of the skull and orbit or equal to the each other side petrous ridges and projected below the maxillary sinuses. We have the parieto-acanthial projection ni open mouth waters. So ang patient natin is naka seated upright position, and then ask the patient to hyperextend the neck into the IR. So, ma'am, extend mo. Open mouth. The central ray must be horizontal to the IR and exiting to the acanthion. This shows the sphenoid sinuses projected through the open mouth along with the maxillary sinuses. Have the lateral projection. In this lateral projection, the patient must be in seated upright position. So the patient head is in contact with the IR, LAO or RAO. So ganito siya nakadikit siya sa may IR. The central ray must be directed horizontal to the patient head, one half the outer canthus. It shows the symmetric image of the anterior portions of the base of the skull and spinal sinuses, and the ethmoid air of cells and are shown.